This incident happened during the summer of 2015, just after I had turned 21, and to date is still one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. To this day, I still get creeped out when I remember it. The day after it happened, I went back to the park and took pictures of the whole journey, in the daylight, to send to a friend, so I'll include them here as proof as well. One of my favorite things to do that summer was drive around late at night. As soon as the sun had dipped beneath the sky, or as soon as I clocked out from my job, I'd be in the car, ready to explore the city I grew up in and set out on my latest adventure. July 9th, 2015 was one of those nights. My city's Italian-American festival was being held that week, so after getting out of an evening summer class I was taking at the time, I headed downtown to see the festival for a bit and meet some friends. I left the festival around 10 p.m., and since I was still wide awake, decided to go hang out in this little park that was on the shore of a local lake and listen to some music for a while. When I got there, no one was around, and the combination of the warm night air, the quiet rippling of the water from a gentle breeze, and the distant sounds and lights of the nearby city limit lighting up the edge of the horizon made for a perfect night to be out there alone. I parked near the gated entrance to the old weathered playground I had known since childhood and perched myself on one of the swings, headphones in and playlists blaring. I was there for about half an hour before they showed up. A set of headlights turned into the parking lot and caught my attention. I watched as a little red Saturn parked on my passenger's side, right next to the gate I had come in. This little lakeside park is a common night fishing spot, so at first I didn't think anything of another car showing up, and brushed it off, but after a few minutes, something in my brain told me be aware of my surroundings. It was then that I realized for the last several minutes, the man and woman who were the vehicle's occupants had been getting in and out of the car, talking in hushed whispers and turning their stereo up and down as they did. At one point they had opened their back passenger doors and were messing around in the back seat like they were trying to unload something large. They made a concentrated effort to keep themselves in the darkness, and when I realized all of this, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. My brain told me to turn off my music, but keep my headphones in and keep swinging a little bit so they would think I was still oblivious to what they were doing. When I did, I heard the girl say something that made my blood freeze. "I think she's almost done on the swings." At that moment, I knew these people were up to something, and the realization that they had been watching me confirmed that the warning bells going off in my head were not needless anxiety. I needed to get out of that park, but in order to do so I would have to walk through the gate and past them to get to my car, and my mind was screaming at me not to go near them. Instead, I got off the swing and walked toward the back corner of the playground where the majority of large equipment was and acted like I was texting someone. I hid myself from view while I tried to figure out what to do, and what I heard next made my heart drop into my stomach, a third person's voice joining their conversation. It was then that I realized that while I was busy keeping my eye on these weirdos, a second car had pulled into the parking lot, but the driver had never gotten out until now. When I was out of sight, it was an older woman with a raspy voice who sounded like she had been chain smoking all her life, and suddenly, the three of them started arguing in the darkness. I needed to get out of that park, but didn't want to be seen. The part of playground I was hiding in was situated up against a fence line that separated the playground fishing area from the basketball courts and boat dock. Aiding in concealing me in the darkness was a large maple tree whose thickly leaved branches dipped halfway to the ground and whose trunk, thankfully, was growing on my side of the fence. I decided I was going to climb the tree high enough to where I could at the very least saddle the fence and hop over. I did this as quickly and quietly as possible, and as I realized I was actually doing it, I was hit with a powerful combination of nerves and adrenaline that almost caused me to lose my balance and fall. I saddled the chain link fence, which started squeaking loudly and digging painfully into my thighs through my jeans, but I didn't care. In one sweep, I was up and over the fence, free at last. Afterwards, I decided that I was going to slink around in the dark to the other gated entrance to the park by the boat dock, and then sneak my way along the road back to the entrance where I was parked at. Once I was there, I was going to make a mad dash for my driver's side door, get in as quickly as possible, lock the doors, and get the heck out of that park. My heart was still pounding as I walked along the wet grass, but now that I was where I was at, doubts started to pop into my mind. What if I was over-exaggerating? What if I was blowing things out of proportion like I have a tendency to do? What if they weren't doing anything wrong? As I got closer to the main entrance, I did my best to hide myself in the shadows from the orange glow of the streetlight that illuminated the road. Just at the entrance was a large bush with a porta potty on the other side, and I quickly ducked behind it until I could get up the nerve to run to my car. The people were still there, but now they were congregating in the parking lot, with raspy-voiced lady less than 50 feet away from me standing next to her car. Just as I was trying to figure out what to do next, I heard her say the one thing on top of everything else that I heard and experienced that night that completely took all of the strength and bravery out of me. "Did you get rid of the body yet?" It was like someone punched me in the stomach with an iron fist of fear, and all of the momentum I had built up just drained from my body instantly. I wasn't sure if this lady was messing with me, and even after she said it, I wasn't even sure that I actually heard what I thought I heard her say. But whatever was going on, I knew I needed to get out of there and fast. I barely had time to think as raspy-voiced lady got into her car and started the engine, the sight of her taillights in reverse prompting me to quick and immediate action. As she started to back up and swing around to pull out of the gate, I dashed across the street and up a random person's driveway, concealing myself in thick foliage as quickly as possible. I watched as both cars pulled out of the parking lot, the gold Nissan that raspy lady had been driving going right, while the red Saturn with the guy and girl went left off into the night. As soon as I was sure both cars were out of sight, I ran full speed down the driveway and into my car, shaking so badly I could barely unlock the door. Once inside, I was relieved to find that they hadn't broken in and stolen anything and peeled out of the park doing no less than 50 miles per hour on the main roads home. I had gotten to the park at little after 10 p.m., and it was now 11:45 p.m. I pulled into the driveway of my house, car still running, and spent the next 15 minutes on the phone with the police, crying and shaking as the full realization of what had just happened hit me. The county sheriff's department was sent out to search the park when I said the lady had mentioned dumping a body, but nothing was found. They called me back around 3 in the morning once they finished their investigation and had me answer a few more questions. I didn't sleep at all that night. Around 7 a.m., I called my mom as she was getting ready to go into work, telling her what happened. Normally, my mother is quick to call me out on over-exaggerating things, and I called her partially to confirm that I was indeed overreacting to what had happened the night before. But after I was done telling my tale, she got really quiet on the other end of the phone before telling me not to ever go into the park at night again. I didn't go back there for months afterward. To this day, I don't know if anything ever came of my report, or if those people were ever caught for anything. At the time, there was a man who had disappeared from the next town over, and his story was all over local news. A few weeks after he went missing, his body was found in a major national park about 30 minutes from where this little park was. I still wonder about all of that to this day.